Got 130 people, but not bad for a weekend from the UK. And from
Yes.
we have Mark from Paris. Bonjour, Mark. Comment ça va? And Bob from North Vancouver. Blessings from the Holy Land from Harry. Thank you so much, sir. Melissa, all the way from Chelsea in the UK. Loon Lake, Saskatchewan. Dave, I bet you it's cold in Loon Lake. Now, you guys are getting a bunch of snow there, aren't you, April?
We are. So we're, well, I'm in Connecticut. So with this kind of, it's coming up, I think, from the south. And yeah, it's crazy. Like one part of the state's going to see a foot. My daughter's going back to college a little early because they're looking at 16 inches of snow in Poughkeepsie,
nice.
New York. So crazy.
Well,
Christmas snow. That's exciting. It's Christmas time.
They call it a weather bomb or something. That there's this that anyways, the barometer apparently drops like a stone in many areas, and it causes this really violent weather system, which is like impacting much of North America right now. So I hope everybody's nice and safe and staying, protecting themselves as best they can from it. What better way to do that than just sit down and enjoy a webinar with Steve in April? I think that's the best way to do things, right?
I love
Avoid
it.
the weather. And
idea.
Also, although we will ask you to spend money later today, watching the webinar means that you're not taking advantage of all of the Black Friday sales and spending all sorts of money that you don't need to spend. So until the end of the webinar today, when you actually whip out your wallets to buy Evernote Made Easy, you're saving a lot of money just by being with us. I think that's a bonus too. At least that's the way I'm going to look at it. All right, folks, let's do this. Let's jump in. We've got nearly 150 people on. Let's jump in. Let's get the video running. Evernote for small business, and I'm really going to be looking forward to the feedback of you folks and how you're using Evernote and different ideas as we go through this, because it opened my eyes as I did the research for this and put this one together. Ideas kept just percolating to the surface of different kind of small and creative ways that Evernote might fit in a small business environment. So without anything else getting in the way, let's jump over. Let's get into the video. It's going to take about 20 minutes, so we will be hearing chat, and we will see you all on the other side of the video. Evernote for small business in celebration of Small Business Saturday. Now, typically speaking, whenever I've taught Evernote in the past, I've looked at it as a personal tool for personal use, and we've really attacked it from that angle. But I am increasingly of the opinion that everyone needs, or maybe more accurately, everyone can use Evernote if they look at it from the proper light. So we are going to today discuss, I think, a really exciting aspect of using Evernote for small business purposes. But before we start, we do have to get on the same page. So for those of you who have participated in my Evernote webinars in the past, I apologize. They will be recovering some of the ground that we have covered in the past, but we do all need to get to the same place, understanding philosophically how I look at Evernote, so you can then start to recognize the value that it brings. So we're going to start with just me telling you what I think Evernote is. And most people look at Evernote as a digital notebook, which indeed that is accurate. It is a digital notebook where we store information. But I think a more accurate representation of what Evernote is it is your digital bank account. Evernote is an app that lives on your smartphone and on your computer. You can access it through the web, and it takes your data and it stores it all in the cloud, and then it allows you to access that data through the app on all sorts of different devices. And that data can be anything from snippets that you clip from the internet to ideas that you've written down to images to documents. Anything that you could put or slide into a notebook is the sort of the information that Evernote can store for you. But the physical notebook, the app itself, is not what Evernote is. Evernote is that account. It's the data that lives in that account. Just like your bank account. Your bank account for real money isn't the institution that you are dealing with. No, it's the funds that live in your bank account. That's what your bank account is. So Evernote is your digital bank account. It's all of the data that you stored. It's the value of that data that you have stored. And just like a real bank account, the more that you invest, the more that you trust to the bank, the more value your bank account has and the more equity you have in that account. So as far as Evernote is concerned, the more information that we pour into Evernote, the more bits of information that we store in Evernote, the more value our Evernote account has. And we recognize that value when we do a withdrawal, when we need a piece of information that we've stored and we turn to Evernote to access that, whether we do it on our computer or the web, or we do it on our smartphone when we're out in the field. It's the withdrawal of that information that causes us to realize the value. And so I look at Evernote very much as that digital bank account. And I also, as a result, respect the fact that the more that I invest in Evernote, the more that I trust Evernote to be my digital brain, to be my digital memory, the more I am going to be able to glean from it, because it will ultimately serve up that information when I need it and where I need it. So that is kind of the philosophical view that I have of Evernote, recognizing that once you start using it, the more that you use it, the more value it will have, the more value you will realize from Evernote. So let's take that concept then, and let's bring it over into small business and see if we can position it there. Now, I imagine, I'm just curious how many of you might have tried Evernote in the past. One of the things that I've learned from teaching Evernote to as many people as we have is that there's a lot of people who embrace Evernote and really find massive success in Evernote. And then there's a lot of people who haven't yet tried it, or the ones that I'm most interested in right now are the people who have tried it, but they failed for one reason or another. They recognize the value, they were willing to try Evernote, but it didn't work for them. So I've done a lot of research in why we fail, why Evernote doesn't work for some people. And there's one overriding reason. It's not the only reason. You might be different. It might just not be a tool that resonates with you. But for most people, they tend to overcomplicate things with Evernote. Here's the problem. Here's the biggest problem that we have with Evernote philosophically. When we look at Evernote and when you start to realize just what you can store in Evernote, the fact that it can literally be your home for all of your little digital bits of information, it can all live in Evernote, that is a huge amount of data that we are going to trust into Evernote. And that can be really intimidating because we historically have recognized that when we set up any sort of a system to contain valuable information, we need to create a really robust organizational structure to store that information. It just makes sense. Think about when you're setting up a filing system on a computer. If you were starting from scratch, or a filing system in an office, a lot of thought goes into what information goes into which cabinets, and what the nomenclature is, how you're going to name the files, because historically we have stored information in paper or on our computer in folders and in nested folders based on file names, which we visually search for as we look for the information. And so having a really robust organizational structure was crucial to us. So now, all of a sudden, we're saying, okay, I've got this new digital technology, this Evernote, that I'm going to store all this information in, and I'm going to store a lot of information. It's going to work really well for me. Well, I better invest a lot of time and set up an organizational structure right from the beginning, which is going to stand the test of time. And it's a big challenge that we have. And for many of us, it is overwhelming. And we get lost in the detail of the organizational structure, and we don't really recognize the value of the tool itself. So we fail. When I teach people to use Evernote, I teach them less is more. When you start Evernote the way that we teach it, I tell you to start with almost no notebooks and to rely on Evernote search in order to find what you're looking for, because Evernote has tremendously robust search. Later on in time, you can add structure, and you will add infrastructure to your Evernote account. But when you starting out, just collecting information into Evernote and then trusting Evernote search to deliver it to you is the best way to go, because then you're concentrating on the right thing. Two things. You're concentrating on storing the information that you need in Evernote, and you're concentrating on retrieving it when you need it. You aren't worried about the administrative details of the structure, because Evernote provides that through search. Now, ultimately, you will add that structure because that is in our nature, and we teach you how to do that. But for the most part, you can just start out with less. And that's one of the biggest challenges in getting people to start using it. So part and parcel of that, making it very simple to use, is also understanding what value we can store in it and sparking your imagination as to the type of information that is really going to make a difference to make Evernote start to work for you. So in our Evernote Quick Start Guide, which you all have access to after the webinar, we'll tell you exactly how to get into it. It's free. In our Evernote Quick Start Guide, we teach you to create two different types of notes right from the beginning. And in only 2 types of notes. I teach you to create something called starter notes and another thing called anchor notes. Now, let me explain briefly what they are because they are both going to resonate in the business community coming up in just a moment. Starter notes are what I call notes that create a reference for the future. It's putting in information that you can look up yourself at some point within your home or later on within business, but is a pain in the butt to find. So, for example, your furnace filter size. That's some information we should all know. It's wintertime, just the start of winter here now in Vancouver where I live. And if I was at the hardware store today, I'd go, man, it's getting cold. I think I should get a new furnace filter because I haven't changed my furnace filter since the fall, since the spring. Oh, but what size is it? There's all these sizes. I can't remember what size my furnace filter is. What we recommend people do with their starter notes is go around their house and take pictures of all of these different things in your house that are consumables that you only occasionally have to buy. The water filter under your sink or that's in your fridge, your furnace filter size, unique light bulbs, anything that's a replaceable thing in your house, grab a snapshot of and store it in a starter note. And then here's how that scenario plays out. You're at the hardware store, you go, I should buy a furnace filter, or I could phone my wife or my partner, or better yet, I just open up my Evernote account. There in my starter note is, it's a 17 by 15 inch filter. Thank you very much. Go home. You're a hero. That is what starter notes are. And we have a list of all of these starter notes, which we will give you the download link to. And there are hundreds of starter notes, hundreds. But there are so many great ideas around starter notes. I still get excited when I think of new types of starter notes to use. The other type of note that we have you create right at the beginning are called anchor notes. Now, anchor notes are dynamic documents that you pour information into on a constant basis. So I use anchor notes for all of my projects, all of my scripts. What I do is I create a note that lives in Evernote, and I just pour information into it that I need for some point in the future, that I just use it as a catch-all to save everything. Now, ultimately, that document might get converted into a project, into a course, into a video, but it's not a document that's made for anybody else to view, just really for me to view. And so I pour information into that, store it there so that I can access it when I need it. Now, an example of a starter note, of an anchor note that we have here for Dottotech is all of the different URLs for all of our online courses and all of our affiliate links. They're all in an anchor note that lives in Evernote. Now, actually, I'll show it to you right now. Here, let me take you over into Evernote. And I will show you. And the key here is, we go into my Evernote account right here, and I go into let's go into the affiliate links right here. This is a place where we've got all of the links. And as you can see, it's not a fancy and nice looking document. It's a messy document that just has all of our different affiliate relationships and links in case we mention the product and we want to sell something in a webinar. And so April, these are shared notes, that they can be collaborative notes that I can share with others. So April right now has access to these notes, to these links. And if somebody asks about the Rocketbook as we're talking our way through this, she can just go and grab the link to the Rocketbook and drop it here in the chat. So we all have access to this. This is an anchor note, a note that we use on an ongoing basis within our enterprise that we all have access to. And so that is the second type of note that we create. Now, we use Evernote to consolidate other information. We clip ideas from different websites. We create ideas for different courses and different initiatives. So we use it for to store a lot of different types of information. But those 2 types of notes, the starter notes and the anchor notes, give us a reason to go back to Evernote on a daily basis and also give us the trust that the information that we need lives in Evernote and we can access it anytime we need it. So that gives you an idea of what we teach in the Evernote Quick Start Guide, which now we can start taking and looking at how those things might work in the world of business. So, Evernote for business. How is it all going to work? I've got a question for you to start. Where does all of the documents for your business live? Where do all the little digital bits of information for your business live? And I'm going to guess that they live in a variety of places. There's a good chance we store contracts and forms and stuff like that in Dropbox or in Google Drive. And we've got a couple of different cloud-based services where we store little bits of information and big bits of information for our business. And that works in a lot of cases, like completed documents, contracts. By all means, they should live in a Dropbox folder or in a shared folder or in Google Drive somewhere where you can access them and the people that need to have access to them can get to them, to execute them, to work on them, etc. And so that is all fine. But there is lots of other types of little bits of information that maybe shouldn't be in Dropbox. Plus, you've got a pretty big training requirement to make sure people understand what is there. And then if somebody moves it out, there's all sorts of administrative problems as well, is there not? So you've got to set permissions, and it can be a little bit challenging. And typically speaking, in any business, there's going to be multiple silos where a lot of this information resides. And there's a lot of common information that should just be available to everyone. So how do we do that? How do we make that happen? Well, I think Evernote might be a great solution there. And the fact that we can create, even in the free version of Evernote, we can create a certain degree of collaboration. Now, we don't necessarily, when we're talking about collaboration, we're not necessarily talking about conversations, but instead documents that we all have access to that we can edit and that we can source from any device at any time. So, the concept of business related starter and anchor notes. Let's revisit my two note types and look at how they might work in business. So think about your business. There's going to be a million types of businesses out there that you folks are involved in. But let's think about what we can do with these shared notes using these anchor and these starter notes. So you can have a note in your Evernote account that's just all about supplies, or another one that's an employee handbook, or an event calendar, checklist. I've got a whole series of them here that are available to you. Now, when you think about the fact that you can create this note and then you can, I better show you this because this is a bit of magic. Do you see, remember this affiliate note that we just talked about in a moment? If I click here on the share icon, down here in the bottom, or in the share button, down here in the bottom, we have this. This is tremendously important. It creates a shareable link for a note. Any note that we create in Evernote can become a web page that's published through Evernote's web services to the cloud. So it's not even living on our own website. This is a note that we have a URL for, a unique URL. And if I go now to a browser and I paste that URL in, watch what happens. It takes me to a web page that has all of the information from that. We published that document by sharing that link. So any employee can have access then to this information. So whichever of these shared notes that you need to create, be it a meeting minutes or templates of different forms or a graphics database or a series of shared URLs like I'm sharing here, they can all be accessed by your employees through Evernote or just through the web. Now, I have something else here that I have to show you as well right now. I'm in my main Evernote account, and when I go to create a new note, if you take a look here as I create a note, now I know we haven't gone through how we use Evernote, but trust me, this is a very simple process. It's just creating a new document within Evernote. Look here, we have something called a template. Evernote allows us to create these templates, and these templates can be everything from personal to business forms and notes that you can create access to for your entire team too. Now, this isn't all that different from what you can create, say, in Google Docs, etc. But I'm going to tell you right away, it's far easier to find and manage these sorts of documents in Evernote than it is in Google Drive. We've all had the experience with Google Drive. It gets confusing about where documents are stored and where they live. In Evernote, it's a far more clean and simple kind of interface for dealing with things. So if you're creating planners or calendars, and you can create your own documents as well. You could have an employee claim form, a vacation request form. You can create your own templates and make them available for your employees here within Evernote. So you've got a nice contained ecosystem for all of your internal documents. So just in its simplest form, when we look at Evernote just for starter and anchor notes, similar to what we have in business, Evernote creates one place where all of our company's stuff resides. And as I went through creating this list, I had so many just kind of unique little ideas of what you would put into these sorts of notes. What about an office journal, a business journal? If you say you run a small coffee shop, and you've got two different managers that run different times and have different shifts. What about creating an ongoing journal, just saying what happened that day? Was there a problem customer? Was there an issue with something? Just letting the next person on shift know exactly what happened, and you'd have kind of a narrative of the issues that happened and the good news, I guess, that happened as well in the coffee shop that day, letting all of the different staff members know exactly what's happening socially and culturally and business-wise within your company. It might be something that doesn't resonate for you, but if I was a small coffee shop owner, I would think that would be a terrific team building and communication exercise. Lots of different ideas of things that you can do in that space. And then when you start to layer on the ability to create templates and to do the other things, you can see that Evernote is a far more robust system than you might have given it credit for, even in its simplest form. And now we've just touched on the surface. We haven't talked about using it for project work or collaborative work or any of the other things. These are just some really simple communication things that Evernote can solve a lot of problems for. So I think it is well worth examining for small business. I hope that you like this little taste that I've given you. Now let's jump into the Q&A, where I'm sure we're going to be able to talk about a lot of other things relating to Evernote and small business. There we go, and we are back. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that one. I enjoyed putting that stuff together. It's the thing about Evernote is, every time we take on any new kind of direction or project with Evernote, it seems to be, it sparks off of my imagination and gets me thinking in a whole different directions. So right away, I'm going to apologize to everybody. I can see that I'm grainy as heck. Hopefully my audio remains good.
But Steve,
good, but Steve looks like crap. So maybe this is a harbinger of things to come. So here, let's fill you guys in on what's coming up. I know a couple of people asked if there's going to be a replay. Yes, there's going to be a replay sent out very quickly for this. I should also do a special shout out and greeting to all of our patrons. Dottotech is a community-funded channel where where we are being supported through the generosity of our friends and our supporters at Patreon. So if you're interested in supporting Dottotech and keeping us going, then I encourage you to drop by our Patreon page and take a look. And there are perks. One of the biggest perks is this is our 110th, I think, webinar Wednesday on Saturday. But all of these tutorial webinars that we have are stored in our archives and are available to all of our patrons. This one's a little bit different because this is a bit of a sales webinar, so it's not quite the same educational 100% educational focus as our other webinars, but they are all available to our patrons. So a big thanks to all of our patrons who support us here, and we appreciate it. Plus, our patrons, another perk they get is they also get a discount on all of our online courses, which we talk about later. So any patrons that are there, you get special pricing for the Evernote Made Easy, which we'll be talking about momentarily. So now let me fill you in on what we're going to do for the rest. Oh, anyways, thank you very much, patrons. Big hug to you all. We appreciate your support so much. Now, what I'm going to do now is we're going to get to your questions in just a moment. But before we do, I'm going to fill you in on what's happening with Evernote Made Easy, which we've been working hard on completely re-engineering the entire course. And it goes live on Monday. So this is the last few days that we're going to be offering the Evernote Quick Start. So what we do here at Dottotech is every time we have, let me find the offer here and get it up there. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Every time that we launch a brand new product, what we do is we offer a early bird offer for that product for the as soon as it launches, for the kind of the week or week and a half before it actually goes live for our regular supporters. And what you see there is the early bird offer for the Evernote Made Easy, which I'll fill you in on the details of the course in just a moment. But there's the offer that we have this year. For this version is $30 off on the course, and we've had hundreds, we're over thousands of people now that have gone through this course. And let me just fill you in on what the details of the course is very quickly. This will take about 3 minutes there we go. Let me fill you quickly in on what is involved in the course, because it's This is the course that is what I call our flagship course. This is the course that we really kind of built our reputation on here at Dottotech. It is 10 days that gives you complete mastery over Evernote. Now, it starts with the Evernote Quick Start Guide, which goes into tremendous detail on the process that I just talked to you about as far as getting started with Evernote, making sure that you start off on the right foot. So the course itself contains the Quick Start Guide, helping you develop the Evernote habit, teaching you about Evernote Mobile, the structure of how you actually organize your account effectively for the future, collaboration and sharing within Evernote, which is, of course, essential for small businesses, mastering search, which is Evernote is completely based on search. So the more that you master search in Evernote, the farther you are ahead and the more it works well with you. Evernote's integration with other services is becoming legendary. It's one of the most connected apps on the planet. And so learning how to use Evernote with your other tools in your productivity system is essential. We cover that, talk about backup and security and other aspects as well. The whole idea behind the Evernote Made Easy course is it's designed to get you using Evernote in as short a time as possible. Each of the lessons should take you no more than a half an hour to 45 minutes to go through. It's structured so that it happens in 10 days, but you can fast forward through the course if you choose to. So the whole philosophy is helping your productivity. So I don't want to waste a lot of time with frivolous bonuses and all of that kind of stuff. The course is designed to get you mastering and to get you understanding and building Evernote into the heart of your productivity system in as little time as possible with tremendous success, because so many of us start to use it and then fall off the bandwagon for one reason or the other. I believe that the Evernote Made Easy course that we've created helps people establish an Evernote account that's going to work for them for the future. So the Evernote Made Easy early bird offer is on for another just a few hours. It's going to end on Monday morning when we release the final version of the course. Not typically, at Dottotech, we only offer these specials when we are launching a course. We never discount a course again afterwards, so you don't have to look out for the next Black Friday special or something. We never do that, so you can be confident that that this is the best price, and we have a 30-day money-back guarantee, which should give you all of the security that you need. So there you go, $169 to all of our new people that are signing up. Welcome aboard. And I think you're going to love using Evernote, and I hope that you really appreciate what we put into the course. So let us get now into our Q&A. How are we doing, April?
We are good. We are good. Just one of the questions. So if you already own our Evernote courses, you are grandfathered into our new one. So you should have actually gotten an email last week. We did send it out to anyone that had previously purchased the course. However, yes. If for some reason you didn't get that email, just drop me a line at info@dottotech.com so we make sure that you're all set there.
And on Monday, when we release the final version of the course, an email will be sent to all of our alumni. Oops, April left the room. An email will be sent to all of our alumni, which will then let them know about the details of how they sign up. For those of you that have taken the Evernote course before, there's a slight difference in the course this time in the fact that we're actually using Thinkific to deliver the course content for the first time. In the past, we just used an email delivery system, but now we actually have it in Thinkific. And April's coming back in. Colby, the price is in US dollars, but if you're Canadian, drop us an email and we have a special Canadian discount to help with the Canadian dollar, which still sucks compared to the US dollar. So, all right, are you back with us?
I am. Sorry about that,
No worries. So let's get into the Q&A. I want to spend time talking about Evernote as for a small business.
All right. Harry is asking, will you deal with the issue of the pros and cons of tags and whether or not to use notebooks? So what are your thoughts on the pros?
If you're talking about within the course itself, I do share a fair bit about that philosophically. Here's one thing about Evernote. Evernote's got to fit it within your own personal productivity system. And so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Evernote has a fairly flat hierarchical structure for the actual way that we store data. If you think about your computer, or the physical world, we have filing cabinets and file folders and folders within folders, and we do that within our computer so we can create a real hierarchical structure. And that's designed to facilitate us finding files in the future by being able to visually search for things primarily. Evernote has a very powerful search algorithm, very similar to Google's, which will surface any information that you're looking for if you learn how to use the search properly. So you don't necessarily need a massive hierarchical system within Evernote. So it's not built with one. So Evernote only has 3 real data types. It has, or 4. It has stacks of notebooks, notes, and tags. Those are the only things that we have. So you can't have a folder within a folder within a folder as you create structure, which is designed really for visual search. Now people then create notebooks, which has got like all of the related information together, and then to set against that notebooks, you have in the metadata you have something called tags, where you can tag information, and so you can create a tag. I do tags for demos. And so if I clip a piece of information from the internet that I think I might want to use in one of my videos, I tag it demo, so that when I do a search on tags, all of the different content that might be used for product demos comes up in that search. So it's contextual information. But setting up your own system is very personal about the way that you like to categorize information and how you think, how you process. So we do talk about the philosophies between ways of using notebooks and ways of using tags, but I don't actually say this is the way to do it. Instead, what we do within the course is we open your eyes to the different ways that different people do it, how I do it, and then we talk about philosophically how it should fit for you. But you have to make the decisions of how you create that structure yourself. That was a long answer. But tags and notebooks are like religion for Evernote users. We could argue it for hours.
Well, and so Eric is kind of talking a little bit more about the same. Like Michael Hyatt recommends just going to tags versus notebooks. That's what
he did, but he's changing things too. His post on tags is brilliant. His post on how he uses tags is brilliant. But it's way too restricted a system. I don't use it. I go notebooks far more personally with the way that I use it. There's no right and there's no wrong. There's just a way that works for you.
Okay. Why can't you filter, etc., starter notes into Google Keep? Or is there a way?
You could use Google Keep. I mean, everything that we do in Evernote, you could do in other notebook apps. Slightly different way. I don't think Google Keep is robust for what we do with Evernote. But you could theoretically create the same kind of starter notes in Google Keep. You could create them in anything. You could create them in OneNote. The philosophy of having these notes that contain all of your information around the house, as long as you have a ubiquitous tool, a tool that allows you to access that data wherever you are, through the web and your smartphone, you can use that philosophy. You could create Google Notes. You could create Google Docs with the notes, as long as you had a filing system that meant you could find them when you wanted to. It's just far more efficient in Evernote, as far as I'm concerned.
So I tagged this, Jonathan mentioned, it's not really a question, but he just mentioned he uses it for everything, all the computer and communication needs of a large medical facility. So it just shows you can go small scale to large scale. So I wanted to share that with the group.
And when we talk small business, I wasn't even talking about Evernote for Business. I was talking about using the personal version. Evernote for Business they actually have a class of the service which costs more to use than the basic version, which creates a server that allows you to share data within a larger enterprise, so that when you're doing searches on your notes, other people's notes that have related content are surfaced as well. If you do choose to use it, it can be incredibly powerful.
All right. Zaya is saying, I'm looking to purchase Synology. Can I set it up with all my Evernote in my NAS? Does that make sense to you?
So Evernote you can set up your local notebooks and store them on your Synology server the way you would any other server, but there's no real significant benefit in the personal version of Evernote or the premier version of Evernote to having a NAS. It's not going to make any difference for you. If you go to the business version, there might be a way that you're hosting it there and storing that. I'm not an expert on that side of it, but one doesn't really benefit the other as far as Evernote and your NAS. It's not part of the conversation, and you don't gain any extra value with your NAS with Evernote, and the NAS doesn't provide any extra value to Evernote.
Farley sounds like a jingle bell, or is that the cat?
Yeah.
He has his
Yeah,
jingle bells on for the holiday.
well, with his collar, yeah.
The chat actually helped Rich out with this, but it was kind of farther down. Where did you access the templates again?
Oh, when you create a new note, it's right in the note. You can access it. And then if you save your own templates, they're also stored locally.
All right. Eric would like for you to share your thoughts on Evernote versus OneNote. I know they're different, but the same. OneNote is free, while the useful version of Evernote costs some money.
So OneNote is ideal if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem. If you live on a Surface tablet and you use all Microsoft 365, I wouldn't even look at using Evernote. I would just use OneNote. Evernote, for people that use it, OneNote is far more structured and far more formatted, similar to how Microsoft does things. And it's really a personal choice. I think OneNote is a terrific tool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I started using Evernote at the beginning of my journey, and so I'm really happy with how it's evolved for me. But I tell most people, I think the way it breaks down is most people who are in the Google ecosystem or not in the Microsoft ecosystem tend to prefer using Evernote. But if you're in the ecosystem, if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, then OneNote is what I would definitely look at.
Okay. So Harry's sharing some feedback. I have been an Evernote premium user since the very early days and only use it on a treasure trove of reading my library. If I read in a magazine or newspaper something I find interesting, I look it up on the web and save it to Evernote. I am a principal in private practice, educator, lecturer, and guide in Holocaust studies, and Evernote is my repository of everything I read online. Any digital assets such as books and journal articles, I keep them in Google Drive. QE.
Okay.
So
that's an ideal testimonial as far as I'm concerned about how we use it. If he chose to, he could actually save more information into Evernote, but it works for him, and it's his trusted partner. You can tell in the nature of that he trusts Evernote for the information that's important for him to execute his duties as he sees them. And I think that's the way that most of us that are kind of that are on the Evernote bandwagon feel about it. Evernote went through a real catharsis in the last year. We were all concerned about the direction the company was going, and we actually took a step back and we waited till we saw that the direction of the management in the company was going in the right direction. But it was really profound for a lot of us because so many of us have so much invested in Evernote that migrating out of Evernote would have been a monumentous task. So we were really hoping that Evernote would get their act together and get back on track, which they have done as far as we are concerned. But that investment that we've put into it, the trust and the relationship that we built with Evernote is pretty profound. And as you can see, it's pretty deep as far as the way that he's using it as well.
All right, Paul's asking, can you search for text within your data, or can you only use search tags?
Yeah, Evernote you can search for text. The Evernote search is very powerful. You can search based on the title, based on the tags. You can search based on the content, the body content. And Evernote will also parse out all of the text it finds in any images. So if you scan in a document, or even if you take a picture that has a sign, the words, Evernote will do that search and it will surface that in search. One of the very first Evernote notes I ever made was a wine label, and I took a picture of a wine label back in 2011. And to this day, when I search for wine, that label, because the word wine is in the label, surfaces in the search.
So another part of that question, will Evernote give you a drop down or a master list of tags so you don't have to make an exorbitant amount of tags, I guess?
Well, you determine the tags yourself. So you create the tags, and there are quick ways that you can quick pick the tags, but your tag structure will be something that you'll evolve. And if you look at the Michael Hyatt link, for example, Michael recommends using quite an elaborate tag structure. Other people use far more simple tags. It's really going to depend on the way that you personally, whatever makes sense in your mind. So I'm going to close the door. It's the weekend here. So can you turn the music down?
Woohoo, it's the weekend. Yay!
Sorry about that. So we've got people in the kitchen turning on music as they're doing dishes. I'm glad they're doing dishes.
That is good. That is good. So our friend Chris is saying, I use the web version and the mobile app. Is there any reason I should install the Windows app?
Well, the Windows app will give the app, the desktop version on both Windows and Mac is far more robust. But if you're comfortable just using the web version, there might be no reason to switch over. It just gives you more context sensitive things, like by right clicking on a note brings up the dialog box as opposed to having used, say, menu items in order to modify things. But most of us who use it keep the app going all the time, and only use the web version when we need to. But it's really personal choice.
All right, Harry's saying the one thing I've never mastered is using Evernote to integrate what I find on Twitter. What are your thoughts on that?
You could certainly clip things from Twitter into Evernote and save them if you wanted to for the future, and that would be an ideal use of tagging as you capture information. Using the Evernote web clipper, you can clip information directly into Evernote. We didn't show you that in this demo today, which is normally one of the highlights. One of the most powerful features that Evernote has is the ability in your browser to be able to just select anything and clip it into Evernote. But most of us that spend time on Twitter are spending time on our mobile phone. So it's a slightly different process there. If you find a tweet that you want, you can save it to Twitter. Save it to Evernote. But then in order to create some sort of structure, you'd have to figure out how to have a proper notebook or to have some sort of tagging structure to create context. If you do a lot of research on Twitter and you want to store stuff from Twitter, that would be the way to do it, would be to doing this saving from your smartphone. But I would definitely give a lot of thought to setting up a proper notebook and perhaps a few tags to surface the content properly when you are looking for it. Because tweets, when you're searching for information on tweets, quite often what the tweet is about, the words aren't in the tweet. So searching just for a tweet that you want to find, if you don't remember the exact syntax of that tweet, you won't find it unless you've created context through tagging or notebooks.
All right.
I hope that made sense.
Mark is saying he is a Kindle addict and likes the share feature. However, I can only push the share to email and Twitter. Any chance to get this connected to Evernote? Do you know if there's a Kindle app?
So taking snippets from your Kindle to Evernote, I don't know. I would take a look and see if there's an IFTTT or a Zapier link. But IFTTT, go into IFTTT and search Evernote space Kindle and see what shortcuts there are for that. But I bet you could do something that way.
All right. Peter is asking, does Web Clipper work within Chrome on the iPad?
No, the iPad you use the sharing function that's built in, the built-in sharing as well. On the iPad OS, plugins don't work. So the web clipper in Evernote used to have a mobile version of the web clipper, which Apple has kind of usurped now. Apple has really good built-in sharing built in, so you can clip anything from Chrome using the built-in sharing feature in iOS, and that's the way that I would do it.
All right. Does the free version still search everything? James is asking. He heard that you have to have the paid version in order to have that.
The free version searches everything in your Evernote account. The paid version gives you different search options. For example, with the paid version, when you're in Google search, when you're just searching on the web, say in Chrome, it will surface your Evernote notes separately in your Google searches, which is it's kind of a backward way of looking at it. So when you're doing a web search, if you have something that's related in your Evernote account, it surfaces, which can be incredibly valuable because you can go, quite often I go, oh, I forgot that I actually have something on that topic already. So that search is different. But as far as I know, and will stand to be corrected on this, your basic Evernote search within Evernote in the free version and the paid version is the same.
All right. This one is a little bit of a long one. Hold on. Sorry. All right. Pierre Kitts is asking, I have a simple business in the logistics field. I want to digitize everything that goes into picking up and delivering cargo. We use one file for every load. We dump invoices, proof of deliveries, communications, quotes, invoices, and carrier invoices per load by work order, and he gives an example with a number. Can I use one repository that all logistic coordinators can share as they load each cargo move? Is premium or should I go into Evernote Business? Can this be done?
Okay, so I would really look at Evernote, and I would spend a little bit of time exploring your own business process and start with using the templates, creating templates for each one of your orders, and then allowing you to enter that information into those fields. I suspect that it will work, but I'm not sure it will be as good a tool for relational search, as a relational database, as you might be looking for. So it'll be kind of flat as far as the integrated structure. The other tool that I would look at, I don't mean to just kind of throw you completely off track here, but I would look at using Evernote with the template feature for that, and it should probably do what you're asking here. The business version would mean that you would store all the information locally, so there would be an advantage to that. Plus, you would have relational notes where if somebody's searching for one client, anybody that's got another work order with that client, that information would surface within it, whereas with the personal version it wouldn't. So that's how you'd have some more tight integration. But the tool I would really look at using as well, and I would explore Evernote to see if it does it, is Airtable. Airtable is a relational database that you could create the forms that you need that might indeed work for you better for this particular purpose. Not 100% sure, but just hearing the complexity of your description, it would be another tool that I would take a good hard look at.
All right. Let's see. I signed in late. Got that. Can you comment? Pierre is asking, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. Can you comment on using Evernote with MS Outlook?
So with Outlook and with all email applications, if you have the premium version of Evernote, you have a really nice feature that you have an email address in Evernote. So you can actually send information from all of your from your email client directly into Evernote and store that email for future reference. And that's a way I prefer to have my emails that I have to archive, that I need access to, invoices, receipts, that sort of stuff. I send those all to Evernote and store them in Evernote rather than storing them in an email client. So it has full integration there as far as being able to send information directly in from your Outlook account or any other email account. So it's basically the same as you would have from Gmail or other email services.
Okay, I'm just going through the chat. I think we covered all of them. Let's see.
I see we've got some new customers on board. So so Norb, welcome aboard. I'm glad that I hope that you find the course really valuable. And who else have we got here? Gary. So they both just bought the course. So welcome aboard. I always like to see people purchasing right away and taking advantage of the offer. So welcome. Can't wait till Monday when you get to dive into all the content. So exciting.
So it's been, I will tell you, as one of the best things that I love is when we have webinars and our viewers are helping each other out with their feedback. So there's been a lot of questions answered in the feedback, which has been great.
And I didn't mention that. I don't really push the sales side of this thing too hard, but part of being part of the Evernote Made Easy course is we've got a wonderful Facebook group, which I go into and it answers so many questions for each other. And it's proved to be a really beneficial resource as well. One of the things we're going to be testing, and we're not too sure how it's all going to come together, but Thinkific has added a community feature in their learning management tool. And so this is going to be our first test here at Dottotech of how well that community feature works, is we're going to be creating an Evernote community within the Evernote Made Easy course as well. And I don't know how it's going to work yet because we haven't actually enabled it, but we're looking for it. But our community is always just so terrific at answering questions, giving different ideas, supporting each other. So thanks to you all for that. That's something that we give thanks for every day, every year, yes. Especially this week, right, April?
Yes, absolutely. Jack just asked a question. Can you use Evernote as an inventory app?
I wouldn't say that it would be the best tool for that sort of a thing, that a proper relational database is probably going to do far better for you, or a dedicated inventory application. You can use it for, if you are, like I could use it as an inventory app for t-shirts that we sell on the, if I'm bringing in and printing off t-shirts and using it from that perspective. But really for very simple, basic purposes only, I wouldn't consider it to be ideal for that sort of a purpose.
All right. I think that's it, my friend.
Awesome. Well, it's weekend. Everybody's got things to do. Right? I
Yes.
gotta cook. I gotta cook. I think I'm cooking spaghetti
I have
today.
to decorate. I got to put my tree up this afternoon. It's like officially, I'm like Christmas addict, but
You know,
officially.
our new house. I'll just share with you. Our new house is really small. It's we went from like a big house to a smaller townhouse, and we downsized a lot. And we don't really have a great place for a Christmas tree inside the house anymore. But we've got this wonderful kitchen area, which is a kind of a family room area, and a patio out just behind it. And so we're actually putting an outdoor Christmas tree that's just in the window. So
Nice.
our Christmas tree is going to be outside this year with all the lights on and stuff like that, that you only can
You
view
do a
through the
real one?
window. Yeah, we do. We get a potted one, and yeah, so it's a real tree that sits outside, and then we've got a settee, like a window seat, and all the presents get piled on the window seat in front of the
Oh,
Christmas tree.
that's cute.
It's kind of different.
Did you try a pencil tree, one of those skinny ones?
Well, the first year we had a Charlie Brown tree because we moved in to this house
I
on December
remember.
22nd.
I
And so we had a Charlie Brown tree, and it was literally the only decoration in the house. It was boxes and one Charlie Brown tree with a little curl over the top with the one bell coming off of the one
You're like
bottle.
2 years there now, right?
This will be our third Christmas in it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'll be packaging this up. We'll be sending out the email as soon as with the replay as soon as we can. If you are interested in signing up for the course, welcome aboard. And even if you're not, well, we'll send out emails and encourage you why you should be signing up for the course. But you'll get all of that over the next 2 days. Happy Thanksgiving once again to all our American friends. To you, April. I hope that your daughter has a safe trip back to university. We haven't figured out what the topic is for Webinar Wednesday this week because we've been so focused on the course. We'll be sending out an email for that as well. That'll be arriving to you in your inbox on Monday, or tomorrow in our regular email. So that's it. April, thanks so much for your help today. All of you, thank you very much for spending time with us here at Webinar Wednesday on Saturday here at Dotto Tech. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.
Bye, guys. Have a